Behind the glitter of Las Vegas and the charm of reality TV, Pawn Stars hides stories that are darker than the treasures inside its shop. From sudden deaths to shocking scandals, the cast members' real lives are filled with heartbreak, drama, and lessons the cameras could never fully capture. Today, we uncover the untold tragedies and controversies behind America's most famous pawn shop, secrets that might just change the way you see the show forever. As a reporter, let me take you back to the unlikely story of how a small family-run pawn shop in Las Vegas transformed into one of the most recognizable reality television shows in the world, because this is the story of the rise of Pawn Stars, a program that no one initially expected to succeed but ultimately became a cultural phenomenon. In 2009, the History Channel decided to shine a spotlight on the gold and silver pawn shop, a business that had been operating since 1989 thanks to the determination of Richard, the old man Harrison, and his son Rick. For years, the store functioned as a modest pawn shop, catering to locals who needed quick cash by trading in jewelry, electronics, and the occasional unique collectible. Yet when the camera started rolling, what viewers saw was more than just buying and selling. It was a place where history could literally walk through the door at any given moment. From colonial-era coins and samurai swords to rare sports memorabilia like Super Bowl rings, every item carried a story, and it was those stories that hooked audiences across America and beyond. Almost overnight, Pawn Stars skyrocketed to the top of the ratings, becoming the most-watched show on the History Channel and second only to Jersey Shore among reality programs at the time. The effect on the store was immediate and massive. Where once only 70 customers visited daily, suddenly thousands were flooding in, with estimates of up to 5,000 tourists per day by 2012, turning the pawn shop into one of Las Vegas's unlikeliest tourist attractions. But the true secret of Pawn Stars' success wasn't just the quirky artifacts, it was the family dynamic at its heart. Richard, the grumpy yet lovable patriarch, Rick, the sharp and calculating businessman, Corey, the grandson determined to prove himself as heir to the empire, and of course Austin Chumlee Russell, the comedic foil whose bumbling charm provided much-needed levity. These weren't polished actors, they were ordinary people, and that authenticity resonated with audiences who felt like they were peeking into real-life family banter, complete with generational clashes, sarcastic jokes, and heartfelt moments. Adding another layer of intrigue were the expert appraisers brought in to evaluate the items, delivering fascinating history lessons in the process. What could have been just another pawn shop became a classroom, a stage, and a theater of human connection. Pawn Stars didn't just entertain, it educated viewers on history, antiques, and the cultural value of objects people might otherwise overlook. In doing so, it forever changed the public image of pawn shops, from dusty, desperate storefronts to vibrant spaces where history, commerce, and entertainment converged. But like all great stories, behind the dazzling success and international fame lay struggles, tragedies, and heartbreaks that would eventually cast a shadow over the glittering facade. And behind the smiles and sharp deals shown on television, there were battles off-screen that revealed the very human cost of fame. Reporting on the history of Pawn Stars cannot be done without focusing on Richard Benjamin Harrison, affectionately known by fans, friends, and family simply as the Old Man, because he was not only the backbone of the gold and silver pawn shop, but also the soul of the television show that made him a household name. Born in Danville, Virginia on March 4, 1941, Richard came from humble beginnings, raised in a working-class family that struggled financially during his childhood. By the time he was 14, the young Harrison was already contributing to the household income by driving a school bus, a responsibility that required him to wake up before dawn every day to pick up local children while earning just a few dollars a week. His early years instilled in him a strict work ethic and an uncompromising view of responsibility, traits that would later define his role both as a businessman and as a father figure on the show. After marrying his wife Joanne, Richard eventually moved his family to Las Vegas in 1981 with only $5,000 to their name, a gamble that would lay the foundation for the gold and silver pawn shop. Alongside his son Rick, he first opened a modest coin shop, and after navigating strict Las Vegas laws on pawn licensing, the Harrisons were able to expand into a full-fledged pawn shop by 1989. Richard's reputation quickly grew as a no-nonsense negotiator with a sharp eye for value, and his presence at the shop every morning, even when cameras weren't rolling, became part of the shop's DNA. When Pawn Stars debuted in 2009, Richard was introduced to a new audience who instantly fell in love with his dry humor, grumpy persona, and surprising warmth that often surfaced in quiet, heartfelt moments with his family. He was the perfect foil to Rick's savvy, Corey's ambition, and Chumlee's playful chaos. His catchphrases, blunt assessments, and refusal to tolerate nonsense became trademarks of the show, making him a cultural icon. But away from the cameras, Richard battled Parkinson's disease, a struggle he kept largely private while still showing up to the shop and filming as much as he could. On June 25, 2018, Richard passed away at the age of 77, leaving not only his family devastated but also millions of fans who felt they had lost their own grandfather. Rick Harrison announced his father's passing on social media with a touching tribute, calling him his hero and saying he was grateful to have shared such a great man with the world. The show honored him with a special tribute episode titled A Treasure Remembered, which highlighted his best moments and gave fans a chance to say goodbye. In that moment, viewers realized just how central Richard had been, not just to the business but to the heart of Pawn Stars itself. His passing marked the end of an era, and while the show continued, there was an undeniable void left behind. Richard, the old man, Harrison embodied more than just a television character. He was living proof of resilience, hard work, and the kind of old-fashioned wisdom that resonated across generations. His death became the first major tragedy for Pawn Stars, a reminder that even beloved television figures are not immune to the fragility of life, and it set the stage for the heartbreaking losses and struggles that the Harrison family would continue to face in the years to come. In the ongoing saga of the Harrison family, perhaps one of the most devastating blows came not on television but in real life, when Adam Harrison, the second son of Rick Harrison, passed away at just 39 years old, a tragedy that revealed the dark underbelly of fame, family, and America's worsening opioid crisis. Born in 1984, Adam was the quieter Harrison brother, preferring to stay away from the spotlight that engulfed his father Rick and older brother Corey after Pawn Stars premiered in 2009. Unlike his family, who became recognizable faces on one of the most successful reality shows in history, Adam charted a different course for himself, working briefly at the gold and silver pawn shop in his youth but deliberately choosing a path that kept him away from the cameras. By trade, he became a plumber, living a simple life in Las Vegas and maintaining a private existence that contrasted sharply with the media-driven world surrounding his family. But beneath that quiet exterior, Adam faced battles of his own, battles with substance dependence that would eventually claim his life. On January 19, 2024, Adam was found unresponsive in a Las Vegas guest house after what the Clark County Coroner's Office later confirmed was an accidental overdose caused by a deadly combination of fentanyl and methamphetamine toxicity. The news shocked fans of the show who may not have even realized that Rick had another son, as Adam had avoided the spotlight entirely, but for the Harrison family, it was an unimaginable loss. Rick, a man who had built his reputation on being tough, business-minded, and steady even in crisis, broke down publicly on social media, writing, "You will always be in my heart. I love you, Adam." His grief echoed through Corey as well, who shared old photographs and used the nickname Bubba, the affectionate family name for Adam, showing just how personal and devastating this tragedy was. Reports indicated that Adam's struggles with drugs had begun years earlier with heroin before escalating into fentanyl use, a synthetic opioid so powerful and dangerous that it has fueled a nationwide epidemic, contributing to more than 100,000 overdose deaths in the United States in 2023 alone. Rick later admitted in interviews that he had placed Adam in rehab multiple times, each time watching him do well, only to relapse again, a heartbreaking cycle that millions of families across America can painfully relate to. After Adam's death, the Harrisons set up an education fund for his son, Colton, hoping to give the boy a brighter future even as he grows up without his father. Rick also became an outspoken critic of the country's failure to control the spread of fentanyl, blaming weak border enforcement and lack of political action, saying, "The fentanyl crisis in this country must be taken more seriously. It's flowing over the borders and nothing is being done." His words turned personal tragedy into a call for change, highlighting that Adam's story was not an isolated incident but part of a much larger crisis devastating families nationwide. For fans, Adam's passing was particularly haunting because unlike Richard, the old man Harrison, whose death was honored publicly on Pawn Stars, Adam's demise was not addressed directly on the show, out of respect for the family's privacy. Still, the loss lingered in the shadow of the pawn shop, a reminder that behind the humor and deals shown on TV, the Harrisons were a family enduring grief just like any other. Adam's choice to live outside of fame makes his story even more poignant, as he became a symbol of the struggles hidden behind closed doors. His death at just 39 left not only his family broken but also cast a sobering light on the human cost of the opioid epidemic, proving that tragedy spares no family, not even those we think of as larger than life because of television. In the world of Pawn Stars, few figures have captured the hearts of viewers quite like Austin Russell, better known as Chumlee, whose comedic timing, goofy personality. In 2012, Pawn Stars introduced viewers to a fresh face who would, for a brief period, become one of the most talked about additions to the series, Olivia Black. With her jet black hair, alternative style, and easy banter with co-stars Corey Harrison and Chumlee, Olivia stood out instantly in the male-dominated environment of the gold and silver pawn shop. She worked the night shift, often handling quirky items that came through the door, like vintage slot machines or rare collectibles, and quickly developed a small but loyal fan following who appreciated her energy and edge. Yet just as Olivia seemed poised to carve out a bigger role in the program, her time on Pawn Stars was abruptly cut short after only 13 episodes, sparking a wave of speculation among viewers. The reason behind her sudden disappearance soon became public. Before joining the show, Olivia had worked as a model for adult-oriented websites, including the alternative pin-up platform Suicide Girls. When racy photos from her past resurfaced online, the production company behind Pawn Stars, Left Field Pictures, reportedly decided she could no longer appear on the show, despite her popularity with fans. This decision led to confusion and debate. Was it fair to dismiss someone over personal choices made before their TV career? Rick Harrison later clarified in interviews that the pawn shop itself had not fired Olivia, emphasizing that the store would have kept her, but the producers didn't want the potential controversy attached to the show. Fans rallied behind Olivia, even starting an online petition demanding her return, but their efforts were unsuccessful. Olivia eventually pursued legal action against Left Field Pictures, alleging wrongful dismissal, though her case was dismissed by the court. After leaving Pawn Stars and the pawn shop entirely, she returned to alternative modeling, continuing her work with Suicide Girls, and later expanded her brand through social media and entrepreneurial ventures in Las Vegas. By 2025, she had established herself as a recognizable figure in the world of alternative modeling, posting content for her devoted followers while still occasionally being recognized by fans of Pawn Stars. Olivia's story remains one of the show's more unusual chapters, not because of what she did on screen, but because of how quickly her trajectory changed once her past collided with her present. In an era when reality television thrives on drama, her exit became less about her performance as an employee and more about image management, illustrating how tightly controlled a reality show's cast can be when producers fear scandal. For many fans, Olivia remains a what-if figure in the Pawn Stars universe. Someone who could have brought fresh energy and perspective to the series but instead became a reminder of how unforgiving television can be when private lives become public knowledge. As one of the central figures on Pawn Stars since its premiere in 2009, Corey Harrison, better known to viewers as Big Hoss, grew up before the audience's eyes, transforming from a teenager helping at his family's pawn shop into a shrewd dealmaker who regularly handled some of the show's most high-value items. Born in 1983, Corey had been working at the gold and silver pawn shop since he was 9 years old, learning the ins and outs of the trade directly from his father Rick and his grandfather Richard the Old Man Harrison. Over the years, fans came to see Corey as the steady, reliable presence balancing Chumlee's comic antics and Rick's business-driven attitude. On screen, he was often tasked with evaluating vintage guitars, sports memorabilia, and unique collectibles, and his sharp eye for value became one of the show's cornerstones. But behind the success, Corey's personal life has been marked by challenges, many of which spilled into the public domain. His private relationships, for instance, were anything but simple. Corey endured 2 divorces by his mid-30s, the first in 2015 when his marriage to his high school sweetheart Charlene quietly came to an end after 4 years, and the second in 2018 when his marriage to Karina Kiki Harrison dissolved after just 1 year. Though the split from Kiki was described as amicable, with the couple continuing to co-parent their son Richard, born in 2014, the repeated breakdown of his marriages painted a picture of a man struggling to balance the pressures of fame, business, and personal commitments. In addition to his marital woes, Corey also faced a significant public scandal in September 2023 when he was arrested for driving under the influence in Las Vegas. According to police reports, Corey was pulled over around 2 a.m. after his white Ford F-250 veered into a bike lane near Main Street and Charleston Boulevard. Officers claimed that his eyes were bloodshot and that they detected the smell of alcohol. When he failed a field sobriety test, Corey was taken into custody at Las Vegas City Jail. Later, in an interview with the Las Vegas Review-Journal, Corey defended himself, saying the sobriety test had been set up for failure due to a painful shin infection from poison ivy and other distractions during the stop. He further alleged that the broken breathalyzer machine forced police to rely on a blood sample, which he argued was unfair. While some fans viewed this incident as another example of the public scrutiny reality TV stars inevitably face, others questioned whether Corey's behavior reflected deeper issues beyond what he was willing to admit. Still, despite the legal trouble and personal setbacks, Corey has continued to appear on Pawn Stars, helping to carry the franchise into its 22nd season in 2024. For many longtime fans, his perseverance is a testament to the fact that even reality TV personalities, those who seem larger than life on screen, are not immune to the same struggles with relationships, health, and mistakes that everyday people face. Corey's journey highlights the sometimes painful reality of growing up and living in front of the camera, where private challenges become public controversies, and every misstep is magnified. Yet his ongoing role in the show underscores his resilience and his importance to the Pawn Stars brand, making his personal struggles inseparable from the broader legacy of the Harrison family empire. In 2012, the Harrison family, who had built their reputations as tough but fair negotiators on Pawn Stars, suddenly found themselves on the other side of the bargaining table, this time facing legal action that threatened to tarnish their carefully crafted public image. The controversy centered around a Vietnam veteran named Daniel Callahan, who visited the gold and silver pawn shop in Las Vegas in what was supposed to be a routine business transaction but ended in a confrontation that escalated into a lawsuit. According to Callahan's account, he had entered the pawn shop with an item and became angered when he felt the offer presented by the staff was insultingly low. When he insisted on speaking with the owners directly, Rick and Richard, the old man Harrison, the situation grew tense. Callahan claimed that instead of being heard, he was forcibly removed from the store in a humiliating and violent fashion. In his lawsuit, he alleged that staff members, under the direction of the Harrisons, placed him in a chokehold, dragged him through the store in front of a crowd, and physically threw him onto the sidewalk. Outside, the scene reportedly drew the attention of more than 4,000 onlookers, a reflection of just how popular the pawn shop had become thanks to its central role on the History Channel's hit reality series. The lawsuit demanded $20,000 in damages for alleged physical injuries and emotional distress, and because Rick and Richard were the listed owners of the business, they were directly named as defendants. The media quickly picked up the story, with outlets like the New York Post and Right This Minute amplifying Callahan's claims and putting the Harrisons in an unflattering spotlight. For fans who saw Richard as the grumpy but lovable patriarch and Rick as the savvy businessman with a sharp wit, the idea of them physically manhandling a customer was shocking and hard to reconcile with their on-screen personas. Responding to the allegations, Corey Harrison, known to viewers as Big Hoss, gave an interview to the Las Vegas Review-Journal in which he mocked the idea that his father and grandfather had tag-teamed the veteran, sarcastically dismissing the claims as absurd. He explained that neither Rick nor Richard was even present during the altercation and suggested that the shop's security had acted appropriately after Callahan allegedly brandished a weapon while demanding to see the owners. This statement reframed the incident not as an unjust assault but as a necessary measure taken to protect staff and visitors in a crowded environment. Public records later revealed little clarity on the lawsuit's resolution, with no widely publicized judgment or settlement reported, leaving the outcome somewhat ambiguous. Still, the case highlighted the unique pressures the Harrisons faced as their pawn shop transformed from a family-run business into a tourist destination attracting thousands of visitors daily. What might once have been a private dispute between an unhappy customer and store security instead exploded into a national story because of the family's celebrity status. The incident also underscored the volatile nature of the pawn business itself, where every transaction involves balancing desperation, negotiation, and perceived value, and how quickly such transactions can spiral into conflict. For the Harrisons, the lawsuit was not just a legal challenge but also a reminder that their fame carried risks. Every decision, every argument, and every unhappy customer could become front-page news when magnified under the lens of reality television. In 2022, one of the most shocking twists in the Pawn Stars saga didn't come from a rare Civil War relic or $1 million collectible. It came from within the Harrison family itself, when Rick Harrison, the public face of the gold and silver pawn shop, was sued by his own mother in a dispute that cast an uncomfortable spotlight on money, inheritance, and family loyalty. Court documents obtained by the Las Vegas Review-Journal revealed that Joanne Harrison, the widow of Richard, the old man Harrison, had filed a lawsuit accusing her son Rick of mishandling family assets and manipulating her into signing over control of the pawn shop. According to Joanne's claims, after Richard's death in 2018, she was supposed to inherit 49% of the business, Yet she alleged that Rick had frozen her out of any role in managing it and failed to provide proper financial records. Even more explosive was her assertion that years earlier, while she was in the hospital, Rick had pressured her into signing documents relinquishing her majority share, 51